You know that feeling when you walk through your front door, arms full of bags, and the first thing you see is a pile of shoes, mail, and yesterday's chaos? I lived that for years, even after growing up around homes that never looked that way. Here is what I promise you today. 15 small Japanese habits and inventions that give you back space, minutes, and calm without a single renovation. These come from ordinary Japanese homes, the kind I grew up walking through in socks, where tiny apartments somehow feel twice their size. Stay with me to the very end, because the last one is a single piece of cloth my grandmother used every day, and it quietly replaces half the plastic bins in your house. And every idea here works in a small apartment or a rental, with no drilling and no permission from anyone. The first idea is the one that changed my mornings, and it starts the second you step inside. In Japan, we call the entryway the genkan, and it sits slightly lower than the rest of the home for a reason. You take your shoes off there, always, before you step up into the living space. I used to think this was just tradition, but then I tracked how much dirt my outdoor shoes dragged across my floors, and I was stunned. All the grit from the street, the parking lot, the sidewalk, walked straight onto my rugs. When I built a real genkan zone by my door, one low bench, a small tray for wet shoes, and a basket for slippers, my floors stayed clean for days instead of hours. I stopped mopping twice a week. The trick is keeping only the shoes you actually wear this season at the door and storing the rest away. Therefore, the space stays open, welcoming, never a pile. And the moment your floors stay clean this easily, you start wondering what else you have been cleaning that you never needed to. That leads me straight to the second idea. The second idea lives inside your dresser drawers, and it will double your space tonight. Most of us stack our clothes flat, one shirt on top of another, in tall, wobbly piles. But in Japan, the folding method is different. You fold each item into a small, self-standing rectangle and set it upright, like files in a drawer. This standing fold became famous through a Japanese tidying method, but I resisted it for the longest time. I thought it was fussy. Then I tried it with my t-shirt drawer on a slow Sunday afternoon. Suddenly I could see every single shirt at once, standing side by side instead of digging through a stack and wrecking it. I fit nearly a third more into the same drawer, and nothing ever got wrinkled from the weight above it. You do not buy anything for this. You only change the direction. Therefore, it costs nothing, and it works in any drawer, any dresser, any suitcase. And once you can see everything you own in one glance, the next idea will make even your deepest closet feel that organized. The third idea is about the closet, and specifically how deep it is. In Japanese homes, the traditional closet is called the oshier, and it is much deeper than a Western closet, built to hold folded bedding by day. That depth is a gift, but only if you use it correctly. Here is what most people do wrong. They fill the closet front to back with no logic, so the things they need daily end up buried behind the things they touch twice a year. I did this for years and lost 10 minutes every morning reaching past winter coats to grab my everyday bag. Therefore, I started sorting by frequency. The things I use every day go in front, at arm level. The seasonal and rarely touched things go to the back and up high. I use a simple rolling drawer unit in the deep part so the back becomes a pull-out zone instead of a black hole. Now, nothing is lost, because everything has a front row or a back row based on how often I reach for it. And that idea of reaching leads me perfectly into the fourth, which is the single principle that quietly runs through every organized Japanese home. The fourth idea is a rule I did not even know I was following until someone pointed it out. In Japanese workplaces and homes, there is a principle of orderly arrangement, part of a system built around efficiency, and one piece of it is this. Every item you use often should take exactly one motion to reach. Think about your kitchen. If you have to open a cabinet, move a bowl, and lift a lid just to grab your coffee filters every morning, that is 3 motions for one small task. But when I redesigned my most used spots around single motions, one open, one grab, nothing stacked in the way, my whole kitchen started to feel faster. My tea, my one pan, my favorite mug, all one reach away. The quiet cost of ignoring this is time you never notice, bleeding away. A few seconds here, a few there, all day long. Therefore, I now ask one question of any messy spot. How many motions does this take? And when I lower it to 1, the frustration simply disappears. That mindset sets up the fifth idea, which is the very first tool I want my renters and small apartment friends to hear about. Now, if you have been thinking these ideas sound lovely for a big house but impossible in your rental, this next stretch is for you, because I have rented tiny places too. The fifth idea needs no drill, no screws, no holes, and nothing your landlord could ever object to. It is the tension rod, which in Japan we call the tsupari bo, and it is everywhere in Japanese homes. It is simply a spring-loaded pole that expands to press between two walls or two sides of a cabinet, holding tight with pressure alone. But the Japanese use them far more cleverly than we do. I put one high inside a kitchen cabinet to create a second shelf for flat lids and cutting boards. I put another under my sink to hang spray bottles by their triggers, freeing the whole floor of the cabinet. I even stood 2 vertically and ran a third across to build a shelf in a corner that had no shelf. Therefore, an empty gap becomes storage in about 2 minutes, and when you move out, you just lift it down and the wall is untouched. And once you see how much vertical air you have been wasting, the sixth idea takes that same thinking straight up to the ceiling. The sixth idea is about the space above your head, the space you walk under every day and never see. Traditional Japanese rooms have a wooden rail running high along the wall called the nageshi, and for centuries people hung things from that upper band, keeping the floor and lower walls clear. You can recreate this without touching your original walls. In my rental, I used a set of removable adhesive hooks placed high near the top of the wall above a doorway and hung lightweight baskets and a hanging plant there. That upper third of the wall in most homes is completely empty, doing nothing. But it is perfect for the things you want visible but out of the way. I keep my rarely used tote bags and a small basket of extra light bulbs up there now. It looks intentional, almost like decor, and it clears my counters below. Therefore, you gain a whole zone of storage that costs you nothing in floor space. And speaking of forgotten space, the seventh idea points to the biggest hidden zone in most homes, the one you literally sleep on top of. The seventh idea is the space under your bed, but done the Japanese way, which is smarter than shoving random boxes under there. In many Japanese homes, people sleep on futons that fold away entirely by day, and that taught me something about treating low, hidden space as real, usable storage rather than a junk drawer for the floor. I bought flat, shallow storage boxes on wheels, the kind sized to slide easily, and I labeled each one clearly on the end that faces out. One holds off-season clothes, one holds spare bedding, one holds gift wrap and supplies. Because they roll and they are labeled, I never crawl and dig. I just pull the right box, take what I need, and slide it back. The reason most underbed storage fails is that people use deep bins they cannot reach into, so it becomes a place things disappear forever. But shallow and rolling and labeled changes everything. Therefore, the dead space under your bed becomes an organized drawer the size of your entire mattress. And the eighth idea takes that same hunt for hidden space and points it at a surface you have been ignoring completely. The eighth idea uses a material most of your appliances are secretly made of: metal. Japanese homes make heavy use of magnetic storage because the side of a refrigerator, the side of a washing machine, and many metal door frames will hold a magnet firmly. I found small magnetic containers and hooks and started sticking them to the side of my fridge that faces the wall gap, the side nobody sees from the doorway. Now my spice jars with magnetic lids hang there, my kitchen scissors, my shopping list, and a pen. On the side of my washing machine, I keep a magnetic tray for detergent scoops and stray socks. None of this took a single hole or a single dollar of damage, but it pulled a dozen small items off my counters and out of my drawers. Therefore, the flat metal sides you never think about become vertical storage in seconds, and they hold surprisingly well. And now that your surfaces are clearing off, the ninth idea is less about adding storage and more about a mindset that keeps them clear forever. The ninth idea is the one that took me the longest to truly understand, because it goes against everything the shopping world tells us. In Japanese design, there is deep respect for empty space, a concept tied to the beauty of what is left blank, sometimes called ma, the meaningful pause between things. For years I believed a good shelf was a full shelf, so I filled every surface. But a full surface reads as clutter to the eye and to the mind, even when everything on it is nice. When I started deliberately leaving parts of my shelves and counters empty, keeping just one or two objects with room to breathe around them, my room suddenly felt calmer and, strangely, larger. Here is the honest part. This is free. It costs you nothing but the willingness to let a surface stay open. Therefore, the emptiness itself becomes the decoration, and the room feels like it exhales. And once you value open space this much, the 10th idea helps you protect it by giving every small thing a home off your surfaces. The 10th idea turns your walls into quiet helpers without harming them at all. In Japan, wall space is treated as prime real estate because floor space is so precious, and small removable hooks and rails do enormous work. I lined the inside of my closet door and the wall beside my entry with a vertical column of adhesive hooks, staggered, so each one holds something. Keys, the dog's leash, my reusable shopping bags, my umbrella, a hat. These are the exact items that used to pile on my table and disappear when I was rushing out the door. The trick that renters miss is going vertical on the inside of doors, where nobody sees the hooks and no landlord inspects. Therefore, a flat-waisted door becomes a whole wall of organized hanging space. And when the small daily items finally have homes, you will notice how much stuff you own that has no purpose at all. Which brings me to the 11th idea and the gentle philosophy behind it. The 11th idea is not a product. It is a decision, and it has a name I love. In Japan, there is a decluttering philosophy called Danshari, built from 3 ideas: refusing what you do not need, discarding what clutters you, and letting go of your attachment to excess. I want to be honest with you. I used to buy organizing bins to contain clutter I should have simply released. I spent money on containers for things I did not even want. Danshari flipped that for me. Before I store something, I ask whether it deserves to stay at all. And I keep one small rule alongside it: one in, one out. When something new comes in, something old leaves. This is where I finally stopped wasting money on products that only rearranged my clutter instead of reducing it. If these ideas are resonating with you and you want to go deeper than a single video can take you, I wrote all of this out in a book called Clear Home, Deep Order, and the complete system is available now. You will find the link in the description. It walks through every principle here and dozens more in the kind of detail that actually changes how you see your home, not just for a weekend, but permanently. A lot of readers have told me it is the first organizing guide that felt honest rather than overwhelming, and I think that is because it starts exactly where we are right now. And with fewer things to manage, the 12th idea shows you how even the smallest, most awkward room becomes usable. The 12th idea lives in the room everyone forgets to organize, the bathroom, and especially the tiny space around the toilet. In Japanese homes, even the narrowest water closet is used to its full height because no space is allowed to go to waste. I installed a slim shelf unit that stands over the back of the toilet tank, straddling it on legs, needing no wall mounting at all. On it, I keep extra rolls, a small plant, and a covered basket for the little things you do not want on display. Above that, one more removable shelf holds folded hand towels. The floor stays clear, so cleaning takes seconds. But the whole vertical column of air above the toilet, which most of us leave completely empty, now holds everything that used to crowd the sink. Therefore, the smallest room in your home earns its keep. And the 13th idea moves us into the kitchen, to a daily chore that Japanese design quietly turned invisible. The 13th idea is about drying dishes, and it will free up your entire counter. In many Japanese kitchens, the dish rack is not a bulky tray sitting on the counter soaking up space. Instead, it sits above the sink or drains straight into it, so the water goes where water belongs. I switched to a slim rack that rolls out over the edge of my sink and rolls away when I am done. The dishes drip directly into the basin, not onto a tray I have to empty and wipe. When the dishes are dry and put away, the rack disappears, and my counter is whole again. For years, I let a permanent plastic tray eat a full corner of my counter, always damp, always in the way, but treating the sink itself as the drying zone changed that instantly. Therefore, your counter belongs to you again, appearing and disappearing with the task. And the 14th idea takes that same disappearing trick and applies it to your furniture itself. The 14th idea is furniture that folds away, a habit built deep into Japanese living. The traditional low table, the shibudai, folds its legs flat, and floor cushions called zabuton stack into almost nothing when guests leave. The lesson is that furniture does not have to be permanent to be real. In my small living room, I use a folding low table and floor cushions that tuck against the wall or into a basket. When I want open floor, for stretching, for guests, for simply breathing, the room transforms in under a minute. When I need the table, it is right there. This is the secret behind how Japanese rooms serve many purposes in a small footprint. One room becomes a dining room, a workspace, a guest room, a yoga space, all in the same square footage. Therefore, you stop needing more rooms and start using one room many ways. And that idea of one humble object doing many jobs is the perfect doorway into the last one, the one I have been waiting to give you. The 15th idea is the one I promised at the start, and it is the closest to my heart because I learned it standing in my grandmother's kitchen when I was small. It is a single square of cloth called a furoshiki, and watching her use it is one of my clearest childhood memories. She kept a small stack of these cloths, in different sizes and patterns, in one shallow drawer, and that one drawer of cloth did the work of a cabinet full of bags and boxes. She would fold and knot a furoshiki around a stack of books to carry them, then untie it and use the same cloth to wrap a gift, then later fold it flat to store leftovers or bundle vegetables from the market. I did not understand it as a child. I thought it was just a pretty scarf. But years later, standing in my own home, surrounded by plastic bags, cardboard boxes, and single-use wrapping I kept buying, I remembered that one small drawer, and it hit me how much waste she never made. There is a Japanese word for the feeling of wasting something useful, motenai, and the furoshiki is that word made physical. Here is how simple it is to start this weekend. Take one square of fabric, roughly the size of a large scarf. Cotton works beautifully. To carry things, set your items in the center, bring two opposite corners up and tie them, then bring the other two corners up and tie those. You now have a bag with handles that molds to whatever is inside. Untie it, and it is flat again, storing in the space of a folded napkin. I use one to carry lunch, one to wrap gifts so I never buy paper, one to bundle cords and chargers in my suitcase, one to cover a bowl in the fridge. When each job is done, they all fold back into a single thin stack in one drawer. There are no bins to store the storage, no plastic to throw away, no boxes crushing in a closet. That is the quiet genius of it. Most people abroad have never even seen a furoshiki, and yet it may be the most flexible storage tool ever made, thousands of years old and still perfect. I overlooked it for half my life. And now I cannot imagine my home without it, and I am handing it to you the way my grandmother handed it to me. So here is what I hope you feel right now. Not that your home is wrong, but that it can be lighter, calmer, and more open than you thought, starting with things you already own. You are the kind of person who wants a home that feels clear and effortless, a place that gives you space to breathe instead of taking it. That is not a fantasy. It is just a few small habits done on purpose. Now I would love to hear from you. Of all 15 ideas, which one are you trying first? The standing fold in your drawers, the tension rods in your cabinets, or the furoshiki cloth? Tell me in the comments and let me know where in the world you are watching from, because I read every single one and I love seeing where this little community is growing. If you want a home that feels calmer and simpler, come join us here, because that is exactly what we do together. And next time, I am going to show you the one thing Japanese kitchens keep on the counter that makes cooking twice as fast, and why almost every home abroad hides it in the wrong drawer. I will see you there. There's so much more to what you just watched. Inside my membership, the Tidy Home Circle, I pick up right where this video stopped. In there, you can ask me your own question, and I answer you myself. A real person, not a machine. You're never doing this alone. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen, and you can cancel any time with one click.